Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. Thanks for joining us tonight on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. Go to the website or search on YouTube or Facebook, WLTK-DB, and you'll find us. Got some new streaming platforms work going here, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot more interaction with the audience, and thanks to everybody who listens every week and catches the archive. So if you don't catch the live program, you can always go back to get the archive at WLTK-DB.com or anywhere you get your favorite podcast from. We're all over the place. So, but yeah, we're on episode 26 here. And just want to give a special shout out to Todd Bates, the station manager, for getting the new streaming platform and all the work he's been doing. There's a great new merchandise shop on the website, WLTKDB.com. And I can't wait. I've got a shirt and a steel tumbler coming to keep those cold drinks cold here in the hot summertime. So definitely check out the shop there. Got a great show for tonight, and we'll be bringing in our guests here in just a second. Just a couple of housekeeping things here. Next week, Independence Day, 4th of July, we will have no show next Tuesday. I'm taking some time off, so there'll be no show on next Tuesday after the 4th of July. And just wishing everybody a happy and safe 4th of July. And if you're in the Northwest, be very careful with fire. For those who aren't in the Northwest, it's felt like the tropics here. Recently, if you're watching the video feed on YouTube or Facebook, you'll notice I'm back here in the Walker Ames house, and it's a little cooler than the place I usually do my show from at my house. So I thought I'd come over here again. It was a lot of fun last week. Just before the show was starting, let's see, something was blocking this light out here. It seemed to go one direction here behind me. So keep an eye if you're watching on YouTube. Keep an eye on the stairs behind me. You never know what's going to happen, or keep your ears open too. So it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. But again, just a reminder, there's going to be no show next week, but we'll be back the following Tuesday. And I think that's the 13th. Ooh, July the 13th. So we're looking forward to coming back there. Thanks for joining us on the show here. Again, I'm your host, Pete Orbea, and tonight, I've got great guests lined up for you tonight. They're a great team. It's called Big River Paranormal, and we've got Tracie Kennedy and Jason Hassler from Big River Paranormal out of the Oregon chapter. So this is a team that covers Idaho, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington. So they've got some good territory there. Idaho is bigger than you think, so I should know I'm from there. But and they're also a TAPS family member. We got Tracie and Jason with us.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you guys. I haven't seen Jason for a long time.
It's been a while.
Been a long while. Jason, I want to make sure and give a special shout out to you and your brother. Go Hawks. So you know that.
Go Niners. So he said he'd give me $20 if I drop that to you. So he owes me now.
He owes you now. Jason and his brother and I have a long-standing football rivalry. So it's definitely the Hawks are better. So it's my show. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But welcome, you guys. Thanks so much for taking time out and coming on. I know what's the temp like down where you're at now?
What is it, like upper 90s, I think? Well, I mean, it was today anyway. But I know
and it felt so much cooler, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at like 106 up here in Washington, which was pretty crazy. It feels like 150.
Yeah, I think we hit 116 yesterday.
That's insane. Did you guys have air conditioning?
Yeah, but it doesn't work all that well when it's 116. So. Yeah.
Right. Might take the edge off just a little bit, just enough, right?
Still like 98 in your house, but you know.
Yeah. Oh. Well, everybody out there listening and watching, if you're in the heat wave here, hopefully you're staying cool and staying healthy. So Stay hydrated, right? I think I haven't drank as much water in the last couple of years as I have the past few days. So I'm hoping it's kind of like a diet. It works for me. We'll see. But thanks for joining here for episode 26. I can't believe I've done 25 episodes. But I wanted to bring you guys on because your team, you've got a lot of coverage. There's different chapters of your team. You guys have investigated a lot of different places. You guys have a really great approach. And for anybody listening out there or watching, go to bigriverparanormal.com and check out their website. It's very, very transparent, which I think is really cool for a paranormal team, and clearly states what your guys' mission is. And if you can share with the listeners, what's kind of the mission of your team?
Well, first of all, I want to say that if you go to our website, it's currently under construction. So it's there, but it's, it might be a little funky. So,
our mission is to, basically to help people and to make sure, we're doing things honestly and through confidentiality and making sure that people are just, feeling safe in their homes again or their businesses. And, and the transparency is the biggest thing behind it all.
Yeah. I mean, just in anything, you're doing for the public or for private people, it's so important because there's a lot of, there's always going to probably be distrust in the paranormal field.
Absolutely.
Or distrust that people have in their own minds of what they experienced. And so that's just going to carry over to a team. And hello, Nicole, host of the Afterlife Chronicles and Haunted Voices. Thanks for joining and commenting. And just a reminder, everybody, if you want to join the conversation, comment, ask a question. I can't guarantee an answer, but we'll give it our best shot. So, but anyways, so you guys have a real open approach to things. Have you found, I've been kind of asking all my guests, especially people on teams, through this whole last year, this whole last 15, 16 months, did you guys notice an increase in inquiries or decrease, or kind of what was that like for the team?
Mostly decrease because we weren't operating at all with COVID. So we just kind of shut things down for a while.
Yeah, we didn't get as many calls that we thought we was going to get with people being home all the time and being able to experience their homes during the daytime where maybe they would have been at work.
Right.
But, we got a call here and there, but it nearly wasn't what I thought it was going to be. We got a lot of Ring camera things like, spider webs or raindrops, things like that we got sent to try to look at or tell them or whatever. But yeah, that was about it.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's been real split, it's been like real 50-50 on people got more inquiries or less inquiries. Don't spider webs look cool on night cameras?
They do. Yeah.
They do look pretty cool. You can usually tell what it is, but it still looks cool.
Yeah. I've
told people, hey, I think this is this, but really cool picture.
Yeah.
You should edit that and have some fun with it.
Yeah. When you tell people it's dust in their house, they're like, well, my house is clean. Well,
did you vacuum in the last 24 hours?
Right.
Or walk through the room briskly? Yeah. I've always laugh at spider webs just because I think they look cool. So you guys didn't really notice much of an increase, and I guess that's good because you guys kind of focus on taking care of yourselves through the pandemic as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know moving forward, especially with things opening back up. I don't know about Oregon, but in Washington, tomorrow at midnight, everything goes back 100%. And same with you guys too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm wondering, do you think PPE is going to be more in the forefront of paranormal investigators' minds? I mean, are you guys going to be more, have more of that with you on hand? How are you guys going to approach that?
I mean, most of us are vaccinated, which is good. I think, well, for me, it's going to be, we're going to have to, something we're going to have to bring up with the client as well and see what their comfort level is.
Sure.
So,
It also depends on the health of the client. If they by chance have health issues, we're going to definitely be a lot more cautious than we would in a home that's not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be a client-based thing. And, we told all of our team members, if you're not comfortable and you want to wear a mask, then you do so. It's okay.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's awesome. And also what comes to mind is going into old historic buildings, where there may be asbestos or,
Right.
some mold issues or something. So it's kind of cool that maybe we're all kind of conditioned a little bit to have a mask with us. And so you can protect yourself when you go into, a creepy old crawl space or,
Right.
I wouldn't go
That's
into a crawl
Tracie's job.
space. Yeah. Oh, okay. I see how it works now. But I think a lot of people will be more conscious of what they're breathing in, at least moving forward, which is a plus for, investigating in general. So now tell me a little bit about the rest of the chapters. So you guys are like the Oregon chapter, and then there's a Boise chapter.
Yes.
And then a Northern Idaho chapter.
Correct.
And I was mentioning Idaho's bigger than people think.
Yeah.
So you got to have both, right? The southern part and then the northern part. So tell me a little bit about the other chapters, kind of how you guys all work together.
Well, we have, our website, but in our website, we have our team forums. And one of the things that we sign on and when we come onto the team is that we check that forum on a daily basis. I mean, we communicate on there all the time. We have stuff from like general chat to, business in there. And it gets to know your teammates that are, in another state rather well. And when we finally get to meet up face to face, you know who that person is and what their personality is like just from that forum itself. But our Boise team is our home team, is our base team. That's where Marie is located, and she bought the team, I believe it was in 2005 is when she actually took over that team. And it's gone through several changes since then. And They have 15 members where we have 8, but they're a lot more busy. They have more public investigations and things like that than what we do at the moment. So that's, for them to have more members is a benefit for them. And then our North Idaho team is actually a husband and wife team, and it's just the two of them. And they don't get a whole lot. They might get 1 or 2 things, here or there, but they don't see a whole lot. So they're able to take care of that. And it's mostly for them, it's mostly residentials, especially if you have a tax case that come in up there. And a residential they can handle on their own for the most part. So.
Oh, cool. And then you said your team, your chapter, you guys have 8 team members.
Yes.
And who kind of coordinates everybody in your chapter?
Well, right now that's me. I was just given that duty here recently. Just we've had some changes and life changes, and so Marie chose to ask me if I would take up that role and be there. I'm actually from Eastern Oregon, and we used to have a team in Eastern Oregon, and I was assistant director there. We just don't have the demographics there to really support a team well. And so we kind of incorporated us into the Portland chapter as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's haunted stuff everywhere. So.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
no matter where you go.
Yeah. And Jason, he's our case manager. So he's the one that actually reaches out to commercial locations. And then if we have somebody that's a residential client, then he reaches back to them. But we never reach out to a residential client. We make them come to us.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Who's this weird team and what do they want to do?
Right. And be like, hey, can we investigate your house? But cool.
Yeah.
Although there are houses we want to do that with.
Sure. Yeah. Well, maybe it's just not the right time, and they'll come to you when it's the right time.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, have you guys investigated with the Boise team?
Yes, we've done the old pen with them several times. And we've also done the Geyser Grand in Baker. They do a public investigation there too, that beautiful historic hotel.
Awesome. Yeah, I never been there, but I was born and raised in Boise. Until I was 20. I'm thinking I'm going to have to get in contact with them next time I go down for a visit.
Absolutely.
To see family. I think it's just cool. Have you ever investigated the Egyptian theater there?
I know the Boise team has at one time. I didn't get to be able to be a part of that, but yeah, they have done it at one point.
Awesome. Well, I want to talk to them because I used to work there in the 90s, and for about 2.5, almost 3 years. And I just had so many experiences. That is one place that I credit with keeping me interested in what else is going on that we're not aware of.
Right.
Just from the sheer amount of experiences. So I would love to talk to them about that because, I experienced, it was on a daily basis. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the crazy one. I'm not sure.
No, I'm sure Marie would love to chat with you about it.
Yeah, it was a daily thing. And we were there till, I was the manager. And so one of the managers. And so we'd be there late night, closing up 1 a.m, that sort of thing. And it was often, you were not alone. That's for sure. Hey, we're going to take a quick station break here and pay the station bills. We're with Tracie Kennedy and Jason Hassler from Big River Paranormal on the Paranormal Pete Show. We're going to get into a lot of different stuff here in just a little bit. So we'll see you on the flip side. New video format.
Yeah, we figured it out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that? Oh, that's good. That's probably a good reminder.
Oh, it's so pretty up there.
I think we're on break.
Oh, thanks for turning by.
All right, welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea. We're here on Let's Talk Radio, WLTK-DB.com, or look us up on YouTube or Facebook, just searching WLTK-DB. And we're here tonight with special guests Jason Hassler and Tracie Kennedy with Big River Paranormal. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, and and I'm sitting in the Walker Ames house again. Just trying to keep an eye behind me here. Last week I did the show from here. And I swear I kept hearing voices, and every time I thought I heard a voice from behind me, I had a tri-field set up, and it was going.
Nice.
So I don't know if anything ever came through in the live broadcast or the recording of it. So who knows? But people watching and listening, keep your ears open. If you hear another voice other than me, Jason's, or Tracie's, then go ahead and comment so we know. And you can comment on YouTube or Facebook if you have any questions or want to join in on the conversation. So before the break, we were talking about some of the Boise locations that Big River Paranormal has investigated and frequented, and only because it was making me feel nostalgic about my time growing up there. But I want to ask you guys about the old state pen there. Old Idaho State Penitentiary. I've done a piece on that in one of my earlier episodes, and it's just such a cool place. I spent most of my time there as a kid, not in prison, but visiting. I should probably make that clear. But whenever, big festivals, there's a big Basque festival called High Aldi, and it used to be held at the penitentiary. And my family was always very involved with the planning and the operations of that festival. And so I got to spend a lot of time there when these events were taking place, and to go there on field trips and stuff. And after the past few years and having a spiritual awakening, I started remembering things that I could recall from my visits there as a kid. And the gallows, the gallow room there was the worst for me. I did not like that room. Not because of, seeing the ropes and stuff in there. I just, I just felt so like I was being watched, for sure. I always felt like I was being watched in there, and just this, now what I know to be heavy energy. What about you guys? Have you been in the gallows room?
Yeah. I thought that I would have more of a feeling towards it, like more heavy feeling, but really I didn't. It was very peaceful, actually. It was kind of weird. Not exactly what I expected.
We actually got to have a public investigation on the anniversary date of Raymond Snowden's hanging. So that was rather interesting. There was a lot of energy that night too.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Now, was there any data, like good evidence collected, as far as audio or anything that night?
I'm not sure. I'd have to get on the website and look to see what Marie's put on there. My biggest experience that night there, though, was there in the death rows. There's the 4 cells for death row, and
yes,
and I was leaning against the wall next to Raymond's cell, and there was a girl leaning right up against the corner of his cell, and I kept seeing some like shadow play coming from where the guards would walk. Okay. But I couldn't tell if it was from a flashlight on the other side of the room bouncing around the hall, or if it was something else going on. And all of a sudden there was like 4 real big heavy footsteps that ran and stomped really hard right behind that girl. And I never seen anybody jump so high and run so fast in my life. And I just started laughing and went towards it. And she goes, "You're like a firefighter."
But, a spiritual fighter. Oh, wow. That's awesome. And hearing him come close and stomp, I've had that happen here in Port Gamble, where it's really loud. It sounds like cowboy boots on a wood floor. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I never liked the death row area either, but I think my favorite place was the cell block, the big cell block, and where the guy jumped off. And you can see the mark in the concrete where he landed. I was always, I don't know, weirdly fascinated by that. Yeah. Now I understand. Back then, not so much. Right. What the heck's going on here? But well, that's cool. You guys have had a chance to go there and investigate. What's a place in your local area that's like a public place? We won't out anybody's houses. What's a good public place that you guys enjoy going to because it's going to be you have a good chance to collect some good evidence?
Well, I mean, around here in Portland area, that's kind of hard to get into Portland places. We did the Gristmill and Woodland is an interesting place. but that's kind of hard to collect evidence because it's outside, with next to a river and that kind of stuff. But,
Oh, yeah, that makes it a little difficult.
yeah, that's a decent place. It's got a lot of. I mean, that's more of a feeling rather than collecting evidence type stuff. But there was a murder there where a body was dumped there, so in the 70s. So.
Okay. And do people think the person who was murdered still hangs around? Is that kind of what everyone
Yeah,
thinks?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Any like historic buildings that you guys have gone to that you're just like, oh, this place is cool, we got to go back?
There was a place that I can't name because they wanted to remain confidential, but in Beaverton, it was really cool that we all enjoyed, but it sold and we can't get back into it, so we're kind of bummed out about that. But we got some really good evidence there, but unfortunately, it's confidential, so we don't get to share it. But
right, and that's okay. It's everywhere. We just got to catch it. You got to be in the right place at the right time. So between the two of you, I mean, Jason, when did you start investigating?
I joined the team like 4 years ago in August, I believe. So, I mean, I had done some like amateur stuff, just kind of not know what we're doing, sneaking into places we shouldn't be, before. But like now that I'm on a team, we do things properly and we don't sneak into places.
Yeah. Well, I guess you start somewhere, right?
I think that's where everybody started.
Right. What about you, Tracie? How long have you been investigating?
I joined the team. Next month will be 10 years.
And
nice. That's basically when I started investigating. I had some, little things happen in my life as a teenager. At a really good friend's home, there was a lot of activity in her home. Her mom was a medium and allowed people to come visit her and talk to them, and so there was a lot of activity. So that's kind of where I learned about, there might be something else out there, and it might be beyond, us living and breathing. So that's kind of where my fascination for the whole thing started. Seeing a couple things that way. And then, a friend of mine and we were just kind of like, what else can we do? I think we found, ghost hunters, which at the time I didn't realize was taps, on TV. And we're like, hey, this is kind of cool. And then she's like, hey, well, there's a lady in our town that does this. And I was like, what, really? And so we applied and here I am. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, same way for me, with, right about 10 years is how long I've been investigating. Have had multiple experiences growing up, like the Egyptian theater. I'm telling you, that place was alive like every night. So lots of experiences, but same as you, when Ghost Hunters came out, 2004-ish, somewhere in there. Yeah. I was like, whoa, wait a second, what? People are, I was not aware of all of the historical research that's being done, like parapsychology and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Psychical research, going back into the 1800s. Totally not aware of any of that. Loved Ghostbusters growing up, and Ghostbusters 2 for all the haters out there. Ghostbusters 2 is good. And the new one too. The new one's great. But yeah, same thing. I was like, Ghost Hunters, like, whoa, these guys are, I mean, they seem to have a good approach here, and like, wow, they're actually doing this. And so that really piqued my interest again. And so that's funny. I wonder how many people say that, Ghost Hunters.
Yeah. And I had not a clue who they were. I mean, I just watched episodes on TV and, taps, what's taps? And then after I joined the team, I was told, well, taps is Ghost Hunters. And I was like, what?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And, Outer Limits and Unsolved Mysteries, and that kind of stuff was real big for me, but it wasn't like showing an investigation or showing the research that what goes into it. And so, yeah, that's awesome. Jason, do you have any experiences as a kid, younger?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I would always see things that I wasn't aware that I wasn't supposed to see. So it's like when I grow up, I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't, and then my brother and I, we had discussions as an adult that we kind of saw the same stuff and realized it wasn't normal.
So do you consider yourself to be psychic?
To a point. Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to do like readings for people and tell them how their grandma's doing, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I definitely get feelings and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right on. Well, I'm glad you think that. I mean, I think it's cliche, but I think everybody is.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how much you uncover and how much you recognize and stuff. What about you, Tracy? Do you feel like you're sensitive to things?
I'm as sensitive as a 2x4, but
Well, guess what? There's the universal 2x4.
there we go.
So there you go.
No, I am not. Really, for when we go into a location, things like that. I mean, I'm a mom, so I'm pretty empathetic as far as feeling those kinds of things, but not paranormal wise.
That you know of.
That I know of. That's right.
Yeah. You know what a good test is, and I don't recommend doing it for very long, but a good way to kind of like see if you are or how you feel things, go stand under some power lines or next to a power substation. If you get kind of close, how does your body feel it? It's a little different for everybody, but there's some similarities across the board. But however your body feels it, pay attention for that feeling again. So if you're on an investigation, if you get some feeling, is it what you felt when you were next to the power lines in a really high EMF?
Right.
That's maybe how your body feels paranormal energy, or what we think is paranormal energy. So give that a try, and I'll bet you'll find you're more sensitive than you think.
Maybe I will definitely pay more attention to that.
On the way home.
I know right where I'm going. No, it's interesting, and that's like the thing because I've stood near power lines, growing up, and some of the feelings I get now that I associate with spiritual energy, or at least self-contained electromagnetic fields, whatever ghosts are, it's the same sort of feeling. And so everybody gets it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so that's Jason, going back to, you saying you're seeing things. Were you seeing people, can you describe a little bit what you, if you're comfortable with it, describe a little bit what you saw?
Well, sometimes it was just like shadows and that kind of stuff out of the corner of your eye and that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like some ghost was walking in going hi, but
Yeah. Do you think when we get on the other side and we become spirits, is there a training course on how to be in people's peripheral vision? They're really good at being in the corners of your eyes. There's got to be some sort of like course that you have to pass, like a driver's license, to stay in the peripherals of people. I don't know, because everybody always has those experiences. Tracie, I had a question for you. I just lost it, but we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Oh, your experiences as a kid in your friend's house there. As you're talking about it, made me think of, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but if anybody out there listening and following, since your friend's mom was a medium and she saw people at the house, I think of the show Facts of Life.
Yeah.
You remember that show?
Yeah.
Where the gal was taking in all the kids. Well,
yeah.
That's probably what that makes me think that might be what's going on. Investigator and good friend of mine is worked in the medical field for a long time, worked in hospice for a while. And when I did a reading for her, that's totally what I felt. I was like, oh my gosh, it's the facts of life at your house. That's part of what's going on. Everybody you helped cross, they come and visit you, and you've just kind of taken them in. So you've got a basement full of people.
Yeah. I think my biggest memory there was it was a child, and it sounded like a rubber bouncy ball when you play jacks. And it sounded like that on the floor, and like a little toy car going across the kitchen linoleum. And I heard it and heard it and heard it all night long, and I couldn't sleep. And I was staying in the room next door to my friend, and I tapped on her wall, and I was like, "Can you sleep?" She's like, "No, and it needs to be quiet." So we were both hearing it. So we got up and went to the living room, and finally it stopped. But yeah, that was the funnest memory of that place.
Yeah, that's great. Somebody playing a game.
Yeah.
Yep. By the way, if anybody hears any pops or loud pops or anything, it's probably some fireworks. Occasionally fireworks go off across the bay from where I'm sitting here. So keep that in mind if you hear what sounds like a gunshot or some sort of popping sound. So when you guys investigate, I like to hear different teams' perspectives. Do you guys have mediums on the team?
We have people who are sensitive, but we don't use it on an investigation.
Okay. Do you ever and I'm just curious, I'm not asking, but do you ever is it kind of dependent on the case, what's going on, whether you would maybe call a medium to come in and investigate with you, or do you just straight up no mediums?
We don't. Like if somebody requested a medium, we would probably call somebody else in to have them, and just
Do the
it along.
investigation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those cases where they really want a psychic to come in, and we've referred them to other groups that do use those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We like he said, we do have some people on the team, not our team specifically, but in Boise as well, that have some gifts, but we don't use them. We try to go in and look for those logical answers initially for people, but way back a few years ago, we did have a lady on the team who was fairly known, and she was psychic, but we had a protocol for her, and she would go in with one other teammate and completely record all of her feelings, everything that she got, and then they came out, and then that was turned off, and then she just investigated regularly, and if something correlated that we got, then that was ice cream on the cake, but
right.
We didn't use that information that she had to do our investigation.
Yeah, I totally respect that. That's a really good approach. And even your protocol, that's really good, to have them go in, as blind as can be, and then know at least as little bias as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we try to do with most. Well, obviously, I can't be in the case manager. I'll know all the claims and stuff, but we try to, even sometimes we don't even tell all the team where we're going. We're just saying, hey, we're going to this town overnight, whatever. So get a hotel here. We don't even tell them where we're going a lot of the time.
We try to stay as blind as possible.
That's freaking awesome. I like that. That's so cool because you're not creating an expectation before an investigation. So that's really cool. I applaud you guys for that, because not too many teams approach it that way. So that's really cool that you guys do. Even though I guess you think us psychics are crazy. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's one of the things that we even do when we get to a location. Jason and I will walk in and we'll do a quick walkthrough with the client, and we'll find, the claims that they maybe didn't remember when they were first talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we get an idea of where we want our equipment set up. And then we go out and we tell the team, okay, you're going to set up this camera here. You're going to set this recorder here. You're going to do this. But they don't know why we're putting it there. It may be just because I want to see if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing when they go, to the back of the house. It may, or maybe because it's a hot spot.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And Nicole was saying that setting the power of suggestion can be a huge deterrent at times. And so, absolutely. Yeah, I really respect that approach. I think that's awesome. So again, I applaud you guys for doing that. That's really cool. So when you guys are going to be getting set up, what's kind of your typical setup? Are you guys real camera heavy, audio heavy? Are you balanced? Kind of what's your setup like?
It depends on the location and size and that kind of stuff. We mostly just use video cameras, and audio is it. We don't have any fancy equipment really. We go very basic.
We have a very basic setup. We have 4 camcorders, and depending on the location, like you said, we could have one camera. If they're saying that they're seeing a shadow in a certain area, we might just put up the one camera there. But yeah, so we tend to be more audio heavy. Of course, we've never gotten anything on a video camera, which that would be amazing but we use it, we get a lot of EVPs off of it. We use it almost as a voice recorder as well. So
You're right. It's. I think it's. I don't know. For some reason, it's just. Maybe it's easier to miss. I'm not really sure, but video is just, it's hard. I don't like reviewing video. And it doesn't seem like you maybe get as much interesting data off video because there's so many other things you can explain. I guess you could say the same for audio, but between you guys, Jason, do you like to review video versus audio? And same question to you, Tracie.
They normally stick me with all the video.
I really like the audio. That's kind of my quiet time. From when you have kids, you put them to bed, and I kind of close myself off and use that as my time. But audio is and I think for me, video, when you're looking and you're listening, sometimes that gets a little overwhelming for me to be doing both at the same time. So.
Yeah, my eyes start to get crossed after a while and just like, ooh, what am I looking at? It sounds like Jason probably likes the audio too, but the team sticks all the video. Well, I think, Jason, you need to come up with some ways to punish the rest of the team for that. Oh, no, you're going to be in the hottest room for the next 2 hours collecting the video.
We also send some of our audio to one of our outreach members in California. So she doesn't have a clue what's going on. So it's nice for her to be able to listen, because again, she's not listening for the little sounds that we heard while we were in there. She's just listening as in a blind listen, same as a blind study.
Right. And you can really pick out an actual, like a class A, or a class B piece of audio and it's that whole expectation thing. That's really cool. Talk a little bit about the outreach team, because I know that part of what your guys' mission is to educate people about the paranormal. So talk a little bit about the outreach team and how they kind of fit into the whole scheme of things.
Well, we try to do like the teaching as much as like with our main team. So our outreach team mostly is people who have been on the team before and maybe they've moved. For example, Tasha, she was part of our Southern Oregon team, and we had that forever long ago. And she had some life events and she ended up moving to California, but still wanted to stay a part of us. And so Marie created this outreach team. And so she does, she does a lot of the audio, because it's easy to send that versus it's hard to send video. That's one of the reasons why Jason kind of gets stuck with it, because he's local, which makes it easy for him to get the video. And then we also have a psychologist that was on the Boise team, but he's like recently moved to Kansas, but we can still utilize him and reach out to him. And so he's a part of that group as well. So that's kind of what we use our research team our extra team or our outreach team for.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So it's almost like they're not outside consultants, but they kind of are in a sense.
Yeah. Especially on, what they're doing. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, who kind of came up with, did this kind of all develop over the years through trial and error, or, kind of how did you guys come up with all these protocols and the approach?
Well, that would be all Marie. When she took on the team in Boise, when it was originally called the Idaho Spirit Seekers. And there was only 4 team members on there, and there was no rules, no protocols, no nothing, and like no equipment and anything like this. And but Marie really wanted to take it farther and go with it. So then she created a management team as she started bringing on more people. And literally the management team sat down together and said, okay, we've had this incident at a home. How can we solve that, or what can we do? And it just kind of has evolved as the years have gone on. All of our rules that we have in place for team members, like, getting on the boards and no drinking or drugs before an investigation, all of those things have all been created by us as team members.
Awesome. That's great. So it's a lot of experience has gone into where the team is today.
Yeah,
that's great.
So
Yeah. Here's a bad paranormal joke. Don't mix your spirits before going ghost hunting.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Don't mix your spirits. They know, and then the rest of the team will know.
Right. And
Oh,
it's not just because we're not just representing ourselves, we're representing TAPS too, and we're also representing the paranormal field in a whole. And, that's kind of a hole sometimes you have to dig yourself out of. And so we want to make sure that we represent it in a good way.
indeed. I love that you said that. You're not just representing yourselves, but you've got TAPS, but the paranormal field in general. And not there seems to be more and more teams with that are looking to advance the field.
Yes.
Not just the team, but the field of research, and I think of Oregon Paranormal with Casey Goodwin and Michael White and a lot of those guys advancing the field. And so again, I applaud you guys for that. That's a really cool way to think about it, because yes, we all have a hole to dig out of.
Well, it was such a taboo subject for so long.
Yeah.
And we're finally able to kind of try to break that stigmatism. And so, you want to keep that on a good playing field.
Yeah. And I think it's still pretty taboo in, certain regions of the country and certainly the world too. But in this country, I think there's, still some certain areas that like, ooh, you don't bring that up. You don't bring up ghosts and stuff.
Yeah, Eastern Oregon area. We're kind of.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we're unfortunately, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, if you can keep showing kind of a science-based approach to it, where you're collecting the data and then reviewing the data and really going off what the data tells you, that seems, that makes it a lot more credible,
Absolutely.
It's hard as I try and investigate like that. It's a challenge for me to try and make sure that I'm following, some protocols, and that, I've thought about how I'm putting out audio. I've thought about all that. And then I just kind of slip into psychic impressions of places. And so then it gets kind of hard, but, I've had some really neat experiences with doing that, with private home cases and stuff. And it's just, they requested a psychic to come in, or a medium. And, but it's, I always have that back in my mind of what's the actual proof, because that's what we all want. That's what the field needs, is like actual proof. And so, it's kind of hard, but it can still be pretty interesting, with private cases. One thing, like the first thing, and maybe you guys do this too, when I've done private home investigations, listening to some of the claims, and you start to kind of recognize patterns or similarities between different cases, right? And what people are describing. And more often than not, when I've gone to places, I find a high EMF somewhere that's like really high. And then if you just, kind of recommend to your client of changing that piece of electrical equipment, or shielding it somehow, or moving it to a different part of the house, it's pretty amazing. Activity stops, right? Absolutely. Have you guys had that too?
All the time.
I also got clients that don't want to hear our logical explanations for their experiences. They want their house to be haunted, and they get angry with us, and we're like, actually, it's not a ghost, it's this. And so we get that sometimes. I don't know if you've run into that, but a lot, actually.
Yeah, most of the time everyone's been pretty receptive to it. Maybe sometimes bummed out. And it's like, well, hey, I've told one person before, well, sorry, but if you want something around, just ask your loved ones that are passed on to come around. Take objects of theirs and set them out, dust them off. Say they'll come around. You can do that yourself. Don't be bummed out.
Yeah, you get a lot. We get a lot of like beds or master bedrooms that are over like a garage, and they have a garage door opener, and it's coming right. You know, their bed sits in the middle of the floor. You know, and it comes right up underneath.
Mhm.
Well, I can't sleep, and I can't. You know, or their alarm clock is putting off a lot of, you know,
Right.
EMF, and it sits right next to their head all night long. Or
The house we had in Chehalis, the whole place was just everywhere. It was just high EMF. The entire
yeah,
house.
the house wasn't grounded properly, and the whole house had high EMF.
Even on the front porch.
Yeah,
Really?
so
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
it was an older house, and it definitely needed. And so we told her, and they were very grateful though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had two little girls, and you know, they were pretty scared for the girls, and I
Yeah.
said, well, you need to get a hold of your landlord and get something needs to be done. And they're like, oh, well, that's why he turned off this breaker probably, and this is why. And we're like, there you go.
Oh, right. Interesting. So garage door openers, they give off a pretty high EMF. I guess I've never checked one.
A lot of times they will, yeah, especially older ones.
Okay.
Like in a split level home, or like that 70s homes or whatever that will have that. We've seen that before. But alarm clocks is huge.
Yes.
Who would think of an alarm clock, you know, like putting off high EMF, but they do. And so if you move it across the room, you know, put it on your dresser.
Yeah, and there's RF involved with that too.
Yeah.
Which in the mix, you know, may not be good for it. Yeah, it's I've noticed older alarm clocks, so things like 2005 earlier seem to put out a high EMF. And when I get to a place, it's almost, you know, there's been examples of I get there, and as soon as I get in the front door, I can feel it. I know where it's at. You got a lot of stuff happening back over here, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's high
or
EMF.
Or like businesses, like for example, maybe a restaurant or a bar, and they always for some reason set their till next to the breaker boxes, you know, and they're always like, well, I feel like someone's watching over my shoulder, and like, well, what if we move your till and see what happens?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a place I got the chance to go in. It was kind of a tour / investigation. And this place, you know, all kinds of crazy reports out of it, and you know, seeing things, seeing apparitions, feelings of being watched, paranoia, you know, that kind of stuff. And I knew when I heard that, like, oh, okay, I know what I'm looking for. And before I even got into this place, my stomach was going crazy, and I was like, holy crap, what is going on here? And one of the main claims was in the bathroom of this place, someone shows up in the mirror behind you, or they see somebody in the mirror, or they see somebody going in there. And when you first walk in, there's all these deli sandwich coolers that are older. There's like, I want to say there was like 6 or 8 of them. And there's a big long line of them, and I had my meter, and I didn't even have to get close. Right. And I was like, holy smokes. And then when I went to go check out the bathroom, guess what was right in the doorway of the bathroom? The breaker panel. Right. With high EMF. And it really bummed out the shop owner. But now in the back of that place, that was a different story. The back in the kitchen where dishwashing stuff was done, that was a whole other story. But so that's cool. I mean, how do you guys typically handle when someone, as Jason was saying, gets upset with you guys? How do you guys handle that? How long do you take it?
We just offer them the information that we can give them, and give them the best advice we can, and and tell them we're here to help you if we can, but this is what we found, and they accept it or they don't. And oftentimes, some of the things that we run into is when we get there, people expect different than, they expect what they see on TV is coming to their house. Mm-hmm. And that's not usually it. So sometimes you get people disappointed with that, and or they've bought their own ghost hunting equipment and they don't know how to use it, that kind of stuff. So.
But they're sure they know how to use it.
Yeah, we had a lady once. She had bought an EMF reader, and she had her cell phone sitting on. She set on her cell phone as she's walking around her house, and she's like, it's going off, it's going. And I'm like, put it on the coffee table and see if it goes off. And it doesn't. And she's, well, I don't understand. Well, yeah. So you have to explain to people how things work and what, and they can take it or they can't. It's up to them.
Right. And that's the whole education piece, component to things, is you're not only investigating and collecting data, in efforts of helping a client, or maybe it's just a public sort of place and you're just doing it to collect the research. It's really cool. Speaking of the education part, what are some of the things you guys do as far as, the education piece to the team?
We have like a public presentation that we'll do. Maria set up a big slideshow, and we go over what is EMF and all of those things, and we talk about all of those things. And then at the end of it, we give the icing on the cake, and we'll give some EVPs and things like that. But when we get an EVP, like I said, it is the icing on our cake. That's the extra, but going in to find that. And so that's what we try to explain to the public as well, is like, what can create the things that are creating this? Is it grounding in the house? Is it the sound of the pipes? Is it the change of temperature from hot to cold? All of those things, because people don't realize, that you could have a vent in your house that for plumbing and it isn't vented right, and it's creating these horrible gurgly, demon sounds that are coming from the back room, and it's really not. It's just your venting is wrong in your home, and so we have those kind of public, presentations, and a lot of times those come out a lot around Halloween. People want to have those in October. So,
well, you know why that is, right? The ghosts don't come out until October.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Right. Misinformation. There's so much BS out there on the internet or on the TV shows, or just people that honestly don't know what they're talking about, telling people that orbs are their grandmother and that kind of thing. And it is kind of disappointing to somebody to let them know that's not grandma. And, I literally had a lady say that she knows that the orb was her grandmother because the orb is the same color as the shirt they buried grandma in.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's all you can say. That is all you can say. You're like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, yeah. Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time I've said that's interesting, just in general with the paranormal, I'd be richer than Bezos probably.
Right.
So what's like the best? You mentioned the plumbing thing, and my house is that way. My house was built in 1890, and of course the plumbing's been updated since then. But I've noticed that it's like weird talking. It sounds like voices. When the dishwasher. It's only when the dishwasher's running, and it'll sound like voices, and I'm always like, "What the heck is that?" Oh, the dishwasher's running. I know. So in your guys' opinion, in your experience, private homes or businesses or whatever, what's kind of the biggest culprit with EMF that you guys find other than a breaker panel? What kind of appliance or, alarm clock, or what is it that you guys find is like the biggest culprit for an EMF source in someone's house?
Refrigerator,
and sometimes the microwave.
Yeah, microwave. Anything in the kitchen, really.
Sometimes a dishwasher, depending on if it was put in, by themselves, or if it was put in by a professional, those kinds of things. Sure.
Yeah. DIY or Bob Vila. Yeah.
Exactly. The DIY projects seem to be, that's your biggest,
That's
when
funny.
did you have this done? Because we did the research on the house and it doesn't show that there was a remodel anytime soon. We did that ourselves. So.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but a lot of times, so like here in Port Gamble in this house here, they were isolated. So the same guys work in the mill are the same guys, in often cases building the houses. And this one in particular, I was totally surprised. I mean, it's knob and tube, throughout the whole place, most of the whole place. And it's very shielded. I would, I didn't expect that, but so it's kind of surprising, even in some old houses that you guys have probably been in, the wire, you'd expect the wiring to be, giving off high EMF, but then it doesn't. And it's like, all right, well, So refrigerators, things in the kitchen usually, and that's where a lot of people, I think, talk about being watched, right? They're in there cooking.
Or maybe like a back porch where they have their freezers sat or things like that.
Yeah. So is there anything that you guys suggest? And this is more for all the listeners out there in case they're starting to scratch their head looking at their refrigerator right now. Is there anything that you guys suggest to help with that? Or, what do you guys do?
Well, there's a couple different things. Sometimes we've said you can shield with aluminum foils. And then there, other times if it seems to be like a bigger issue, like we'll actually find references for plumbers or electricians, things like that for them. We'll reach out the best that we can.
Oh, that's
help them
awesome.
Find that resource. So
yeah. Oh, that's really cool. My house is haunted. You guys want to come investigate?
Sure.
Pretty sure I know who's in my house. It's partly family. So, so what's the best? I don't like to use the word debunk, but what's your best example, like your funnest example of that, where it was just like night and day with your client or with you guys? What was your best thing that you figured out that maybe you thought was paranormal and then you figured it out? What was that?
That's a good question. We were at a bar in Aberdeen, Washington, and one of their claims was they kept hearing a woman giggle in the bathroom. And it turns out they're like, oh, did you hear it? Well, I can't remember who it was that went into the girl's bathroom and found when the automatic air freshener sprayed, it made this high pitched noise. It sounded like a giggle.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It wasn't a ghost at all.
That's a fun one.
It had like a squeak after when it pushed the little thing to spray the stuff, it would come back up. And as it came back up, it created like this little giggle sound.
That's a good one.
And they had a ghost in their bathroom, but they didn't.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Because nobody wants a ghost watching in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's a question you get is, do they watch you when you're in the bathroom?
Right.
Well, I don't know. I hope not.
Right.
Yeah. I always think of Aziz Ansari. One of his stand-up routines was, people always talking about their house being haunted and, the lights turning on and off or the toilet flushing. And you just got to wonder, well, if these people died in the 1700s, they're like, light, no light, light, no light. What is this? Whoa, look at this water. It goes somewhere and then fills back up.
Right. Yeah, curiosity for sure.
Yeah. And I just thought of this too. Have you guys ever felt from a place where you had some activity, you were getting some good personal experiences, have you guys ever felt like anything came home with you?
That's never happened to me, no.
I've never, in the 10 years, I've never had that happen.
I mean, I believe it can happen. It just hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys do anything at your investigation when you close it to kind of state that, or are you just lucky?
No, just lucky, I guess.
Lucky. We thank them for allowing us into their location or their home.
I mean, individually, some of us do different things or say, hey, like we've had teammates that will say, hey, you have to stay here. You can't come home with us. But like as a group, we don't do anything like that. As a group,
Yeah. And thanking the location, thanking those that may be there. I think that's a big part of it. Thank you for letting us be in your home, in your space and stuff. And that I think does go a long ways. It goes over a lot better than come at me, bro.
Yeah, provoking this. It may get a result, but it's not going to get to what you want all the time.
Yeah. I've never felt that was a good way to go. So maybe, being respectful and stuff, they respect you, either way.
Right. Well, I think about when I go into a home, that could be someone's grandma in there or something like that. And I wouldn't want someone coming into my home and yelling at my grandma or treating her horribly, so I'm going to be respectful of that,
Yeah, it's kind of I learned from William Becker with Paranormal Insight.
I like William.
He was kind of a mentor for me early on in my awakening process, and a great friend. And he always said to me, what you put out there is what you get back.
Yeah.
And that was influential to me, early on in investigating and research and stuff. And I've always kind of adopted that. So I think it's just a great practice for anyone to have. So how, as far as your team goes, once you've got a place to investigate, and I'm asking a lot of these questions for maybe listeners out there who are on a new team or starting a team, or thinking about joining a team. And so hopefully some of the stuff you guys are talking about may help somebody make a decision on, a good decision for them on what team to be on and that sort of thing. So do you guys typically approach a private case versus a public or historic location differently? Meaning, is your whole approach different, or is it the same protocol no matter what? It's just with a private case. Maybe you've got the client that you have to be in the forefront of how you guys approach things. Is it the same, or do you guys do it kind of differently?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, with residential, a lot of times you're there to assist the client with issues they're having, whereas commercial, they're like, yeah, our place is haunted, come take pictures. So you're not really assisting the commercial location often. It's most time with commercial locations, it's people that we've contacted that we've heard rumors of their location having activity, and they're not looking for assistance or answers to what's going on. Or as a residential, they're usually looking for help.
We want them to feel safe in their home. Your home is your sanctuary, and if you don't feel safe there, your kids don't feel safe there, you want to try to resolve that. And so that's the biggest thing. But we also look at sensitivity. I mean, we have team shirts, things like that. And sometimes there's people that are like, I don't want anybody to know that you're here. I'm scared to tell anybody that I have something going on in my home, or I think I do, or whatever. And so we'll actually go in without our team shirts on and just kind of show up as, the friends, hanging out for the night, and try to be as discreet as possible when it comes to, if that's what they ask for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just imagine a neighbor being like, why do their friends have cameras? What's really going on here? No, that's really cool. And it's all about the client. And like
Absolutely.
you said, having them feel safe in their home. And especially, since the pandemic, it's become even more of a sanctuary for people. It's even more of, their cave, if you want to be primal about it, so that it's probably even moving forward, I'd imagine, over the next couple of years, the effects of the pandemic and quarantine and, staying home, that kind of stuff is going to be felt. And it'd be interesting to note, kind of what differences you guys see over the next few years with private home cases. How in general are people, open to what you have to say, and how, are they more protective? It'd be interesting to kind of see how that plays out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we might have some more mental health issues too, because you've had people who have isolated and haven't been able to be a part of society, or, they haven't had the mental health help that they've needed because things have been shut down and things. So I think that we might, just kind of forefront thinking or whatever. I think that might be something we need to make sure we keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a factor in things. Now, you mentioned mental health there, and one of your outreach members is a psychologist.
Yeah.
So do you? Are you allowed to refer people, to him or her? How does that work? If you, through your interview process, you're kind of getting some red flags, and maybe some mental health, needs. is that someone you go to, or like, how do you guys kind of approach that? Because I know, and you guys have experienced this too, when someone's talking about what's going on with them, and you may pick up on some, this person can maybe use a little bit of help. And how do you guys approach that?
I think that we would privately reach out to him to start with and say, these are the things that we see. These are the things that we're hearing, and get his advice on where to go first.
Mm-hmm.
And then, depending on, because he's not local, he's now in Kansas, so
Mm-hmm.
it's harder for him to actually get to those clients, but he might be able to say, well, this is somebody that I know in that area or this town, and help with that and be able to help give them that information or how to reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we would start with all of that. But yeah, we try to do that anyway, like if somebody, our Boise team, Marie talks about a story of a time where she walked into a home and they were having all these troubles and all these issues and all this stuff was going down, and they started going through and doing their walkthrough and stuff, and they realized that the family was really in need and desire of need food. And so they literally got together and they went and got food and brought it into the home. And it was they were having paranoia and they were having issues just because of the stress of that and trying to raise the kids and everything. And it started to help relieve them when it comes to those kinds of things. So we try to reach out, to other people, other things of however we can.
Yeah, I think that's really honorable, and it's all, again, part of your guys' mission of it, helping the client.
Yeah.
So, and however you can do that, and paranormal, teams and investigators are kind of, I don't know, lack of a better term, but they're kind of like, a street corner psychiatrist almost. You kind of have to be. I mean, what do you think, Jason?
It's tough sometimes because sometimes you'll have a client that you can tell is clearly having a mental health crisis. And you also have to ask yourself, this person could be in mental health crisis, but still be having something paranormal going on. So you got to navigate that as well. And we do ask the tough questions like, do you have a diagnosis? Are you on medication? They don't have to answer, and we tell them that up front, but it's relevant questions. And, we just ask those questions, kind of go from there.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about your interview process for private home cases. Do you guys tape record or video if you have the permission to, or do you guys just have multiple people kind of watching different things? One person writing, one person asking questions. You know what I mean? Like where you're breaking it up so you don't miss anything.
We have an interview form that Marie has set up, and we ask questions on that, and it's set up for both commercial and residential. So it's like some of the questions don't pertain to one or the other, just because it's one form. But normally we have one person that just sits with them. But one of the new things that I want to, since I'm new to this, sitting in this seat as the director for Portland, we will be recording those as well, because as I'm taking notes, or whoever is doing the interview taking notes, you might miss something that they said or something under their breath, and you can go back later and listen to that again and be able to hear. So
yeah, or you miss, like they look away or some sort of physical tell about something. That's really cool. And it is hard it's nice to have it on a form, to have them fill out some of those tough questions.
Yeah. And I've done that. I've said, if you don't want to physically speak this to me, here's, write down your stuff. And they seem to be more telling when they can just do it themselves versus having to, speak it. So
I also try to ask questions about that kind of stuff on the initial phone call, because I have to assess whether or not this situation is safe to bring the team into.
Excellent point. Yeah. No, you got to keep you guys safe.
Yeah. The ghosts aren't scary. Sometimes the clients are.
It's you hear it all the time, but yeah, the living are more scary than the dead. In ghost hunting, I guess it depends on, maybe if you're in a dungeon of an English castle, that might be a little different, but right. In general, do you guys have a funny story of where another teammate just scared the hell out of you?
No, but I do have a story about being at the Walker Ames house and having somebody come in the middle of the night while we were investigating. So we were there.
Great.
I don't know if you remember when we were on a different show and they wanted to go on an investigation. So we took them up to the Walker Ames house. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yep.
we were in the middle of the night. We're sitting there. Everything's dark. We're just sitting there talking, and a car pulls up. So I sneak into the little kitchen area and I look out the window. They don't see me, but it's some teenagers. And so I go directly behind the door. And they come up on the porch, like him whispering, this place is supposed to be haunted. And one girl was like, check to see if the door's locked. So I waited like half a second and I was like, bam, and I beat on the door. And they said,
oh no.
It was pretty funny. But we had to go out like 10 minutes later and talk to them because they were being really loud. So they did find out it wasn't a ghost, but which was unfortunate.
Oh man. Well, I've not done that, but similar. I was doing a Facebook Live from in here a couple months ago, kind of later at night, and I started to hear some voices and talking, and I was like, it's pretty late for Port Campbell. Like, what's going on? I didn't see a car from where I was at, and so I started to get kind of spooked, and then I realized, oh, it's people down a ways from the house looking at the house. There's a nice little viewing area, and I was like, oh, okay, that's it. But I forgot that I was like kind of pacing back and forth in the windows. and then I went down to the basement, and actually hearing their voices come closer, I got kind of freaked out and was kind of like, what are they doing? Yeah. And so I went up and I finished the live feed. And then I went up, and when I opened the door, they were all standing outside, and they all were like, "Oh my God, thank God it's a real person." So yeah, the living definitely does that. There's been known to be a bat in the attic here.
Yes.
And okay, you guys know the bat. Yeah. Gosh, one night investigating, we were hearing something, back behind us, and then it was over, 10 seconds later, it was on the other side of the room, and then it was on the other part of the room. And I happened to shine my flashlight straight up into the rafters, and that stinking bat went right over my face, right over the flashlight. I may have let a little scream out, but it's usually that. Now, I will tell you, so a few weeks ago, I had a couple of friends who hadn't been here in a long time, and it was kind of a last minute. They wanted to come in here for a couple hours, and so I met them down here, and it was 10 o'clock, and I'm standing on the back of the house, on the street side. So for those who aren't familiar, I'm standing just outside the back door where the street is, and I see somebody come out of the Port Gamble General Store building. Now, pre-COVID, that's not it's not uncommon, because there's like the last person in the restaurant's closing up. They're taking the trash out or something. And so oftentimes I'll say, hey, it's just me down here. So in case they see somebody over by the house, they don't get freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I see this person come out of the general store, and they're wearing a white t-shirt and like tan pants. And I saw them walk out, and I thought, oh, that's weird. They closed like 4 hours ago. And so I had walked down. There's a ramp, and I'd walked down the ramp to the street to say, hey, it's just me down here. And there was nobody there. No cars anywhere. Not sure what that was, but of course I did not have any camera going. So I was not expecting it, but, if that was a living person, they disappeared real fast.
Right.
So who knows there? So we're going to be, what is, between the two of you, Jason, what is your favorite tool? What is your favorite tool that you use? And you can be specific to model and brand. And Tracie, it's same for you after Jason answers.
For me, it's me and common sense.
I love that answer. What about you, Tracie?
I was going to answer the same thing. You stole my answer. You have to be the tool, and the tool only works if you know how to use it right. So That's the biggest thing. If I have to pick a piece of electronic device, it would be the audio recorder. But I am, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it can be just a simple little Olympus audio recorder. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or nothing like that. But I do say that I myself is the biggest tool. When you go into a location.
It's the only time when it's okay to say I'm a big tool.
That's right.
Right? It's just being honest. No, that's great responses. And I kind of feel the same thing. I always think of a good friend, Michael White, and, researcher and investigator. He likes to, he's told me he almost likes to investigate the investigators while an investigation is going on. Do you have anybody on the team that's kind of, doing that, monitoring the actual team? Maybe not necessarily the space, but, do you have someone doing that?
No, not really. We have some pretty heavy skeptics. We have one lady for sure. She's a very heavy skeptic. And I find that that's okay. Because, we might hear a pop or a creak or something like that. And everybody's like, ooh, and she's like, no, wait a minute. That's really not what that is. I believe that this is a pipe, or this is, just the wind picked up and the house is shifting, or, things. So I like to have that on the team. So it keeps us grounded.
For sure. It's, you got to have skeptics on your team. You just have to. And I joke around there, skeptics on a team, or they keep people like me in check. Because, I admit it, I'm a believer. I've had way too many personal experiences, so it's a challenge to remain skeptical. Where do you guys kind of fall on it? Are you more skeptical or more open? Where do you guys fall?
I'm definitely a believer for sure.
I am more of a believer, but I would say I'm a kind of an open skeptic, because I know that there's things there. I've heard too many EVPs. I've seen too many shadows. I've had those experiences, but on the same time, when I go into a location, the first thing I want to find is what's causing these things to happen. So I'm kind of like in that middle ground.
One of the things I've noticed about skeptics is if you're like on a public investigation, sometimes the skeptic is the one that's going to have the biggest thing happen to them. The biggest experience.
And then you lose them because then they're not so skeptical anymore.
I told you.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I had a reading once, a group reading for a family, and one of the family members was very skeptical, didn't want to be a part of it really, and so they stayed out. It was an in-law, and so they stayed out in the car. And they didn't even want to come in. They didn't want to do this. They didn't want to be a part of it. And, I'm pretty easygoing. I mean, come on. It's not like, my readings aren't like, intense, but everything I was getting was for the person who was in the car, including names and dates and physical things about them and things that they said and what they did for a living. And it just goes to show you, they're trying to reach out, but no, it's really good to have that skeptic on every team. And, I would say all my life up until a few years ago, I was an open skeptic as well. Totally open to activity just from personal experiences, but wanted to have that tangible, what is causing this, or a photo, like a really nice photo or a piece of audio that you also get on video, something like that, where you're getting cross device, activity, or you're picking up the evidence on there. So, kind of the same way, except for it's more of a challenge to be skeptical nowadays, for me anyways.
Yeah.
So I like your guys' overall approach to it. Now, is being a TAPS family member team, is there like extra resources that you guys have access to, or is set up protocols, that sort of thing too? How does that work?
For the most part, our protocols are kind of right in line with what the TAPS family has set up for their investigations. Like, so we'll get an email and we have to respond within so many hours, or 24 hours. We have to respond to that client, whether they get back to us or not.
That's on them. Yeah.
But we have to do that, and we have to, but so all of our stuff's kind of aligned, and Marie's kind of done that on purpose so that it's easier for us, so we don't have to go, oh, well, this is one of our own private cases versus a TAPS case, and try to differentiate the two. But as far as resources go, yeah, like we could get an email from someone in another state, and we can, refer them to that team, and we have Facebook connections and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we can always reach out for whatever we need.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it's good to have the extra resources, and you guys have your outreach team too, and that's awesome. So we have a couple pieces of audio that I want to get to. You guys had sent in 3 clips, and so what I'd like to do is we'll play one of these, and then you guys can give what the context was.
Okay.
And so if we could hear clip number 1 played a couple times, and then we'll talk about it on the other side here. We'll see if we can get it again here. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
that one was at the Pinnacle Theater in Salem.
Oh, Salem, Oregon?
Yeah.
Nice. So it sounds like there's the first time I heard it, it sounded extra creepy. I don't know why, but the second time too is a male voice, responding to, sounds like somebody asked, were you an actor or something else?
Yeah.
So yeah, our investigator Kathy, we were in the actual black box area of the theater, and we were talking about we had like 4 or 5 staff members with us, and so we were talking about each person's role at the theater. And so one of the things that we have found is that we can general talk. A lot of times we'll get a lot more interaction for us than straight on questioning. So we kind of start with this round robin, like, well, what's your role, or what, da 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 da. And then Kathy said, and so what did you do? What was your part of this? Were you an actor? Were you the costumes? Were you? And we got the response of, I'm an actor.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I heard actor really clear.
And it was heard there because Jason heard something, because he says, Dakota, was that you, or was that you? And Dakota responds, no, it came from over there, which was across the theater. But the theater's round. It's a complete circle. And so it could be coming from right beside me, but it sounded like it was from across the room.
Yeah. Talk about throwing your voice well in a space like that. Okay. So it was disembodied too.
Yeah.
Or at least in some part of it was disembodied. That's really cool. Yeah. And I like the thought of just kind of talking, and then, it seems like sometimes, that lets others, they start talking. They either join the conversation, or they're talking because they think we're not listening.
Right.
And by the way, everybody watching and listening out there, we work well off interaction too, just like Tracie was talking about. So if you want to comment, put a comment up and we'll address it there. One question I want to ask the audience is, if you're an investigator, what's your go-to tool? Is it audio? Is it some sort of video camera? full spectrum camera, whatever it might be. What's your go-to? And we'll be sure to mention that. Well, that's really cool. Was there on that investigation? Was there, other than that, was there any other disembodied sounds that you guys think you picked up?
Let me think on that one. I don't think we got a whole lot on that one. I think there was a couple other things that were questionable, but we weren't 100% sure.
We had, and while we were setting up, one of our investigators was standing next to a door, and because like their costume room where the clients got ready, or the actors got ready, was downstairs, and they had to go upstairs, outside, around a deck, and then back into the black box. It was like, it's like a crazy setup. But
what in the world?
She was standing next to the door, and she just started to open it, and it was slammed shut, pulled out of her hand. Of course, it was right in the middle of setup, and we were like, oh,
nothing's recording yet, right?
Yeah. So just some sounds, a lot of sounds, like would take us to one room, and we'd get there, and then we'd hear the sound in another room. So a lot of cat and mouse in there.
Not really mouse. We did find.
Yeah, we found mouse.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think a lot of paranormal investigators find a lot of the things that they don't want to find, probably. But it's always good to let the client know if whatever you find, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that theater sounds pretty cool and interesting, and I definitely want to talk to Marie about the Egyptian theater, because the underside of the Egyptian theater is really cool.
I'm sure she'd love to talk about that.
Oh yeah, it's creepy down there. There used to be opium dens and weird stuff in these tunnels that are underneath there. We actually one time found and my wife Molly will have to plug her ears, a giant rat down there, and it was dead. And I'm talking like the size of a raccoon. And 2 days later, we took our district manager down there because he wanted to see the tunnels, and the thing was gone. We were like, okay.
Wow.
Well, there's no sewer alligators. There's no alligators in Boise. What in the world?
Wow, that's crazy.
I love old theaters. They're cool. They're just neat. The energy in them is always interesting, and being a completely round theater, that's even, I mean, gosh, the audio, that had to have been hard to review, as you were saying. If you hear someone, it could be right next to you. Was that extra challenging to go through the audio on that one?
Definitely.
It was, yeah. And the other thing that was kind of crazy about it is, we were all in masks, and it was hard to hear each other, even though we weren't that far apart. But then in our audio, they were sounded like they were standing right next to the recorder. It was the craziest experience. Yeah.
Very strange. And I was going to say, Jason probably doesn't know because he was probably stuck with all the video review, not the audio. So.
He got a spider.
I did it. I was like trying to stay awake watching. All of a sudden something crawls across the screen. You could even hear it. It was gross. I did have to pull it up and show it to the client. That was pretty cool.
Oh, like little tapping.
Yeah, it was weird. Gross.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't much like big spiders in the dark. Little ones, okay. Big ones, yeah, not so much. I like tarantulas though. I don't know if anybody listening out there, what you think. Do you like tarantulas? I think they're pretty cool. So let's get to another clip, and this one it picks up something that's silly. So this would be clip number 2, if we could hear that one, please. I was hoping to hear something in this silence here from behind me. We're on a new video streaming platform and learning it and getting used to it. Here we go.
She said you can see light right through it. You can see the door from the other side. So then what would it be? I don't saw it anymore. Really? No, it's gone. You can't? Oh, it's bad. Oh my God. Okay. It's another. Unless it's a draft coming under that door. Ooh. It is. It's ready. Okay. What is right here? I don't know. It's. She said you can see you can see light right through it. You can see the door from the other side. So then what would it be? That's more than one. Really? No, it's gone.
Okay, I heard that.
Yeah.
That's silly. There's also some weird frequency stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
And I actually did not listen to these before the show. I wanted to hear them, for the first time on the show. Was there any male investigators in that room with you guys?
This was actually our Boise team at the Geyser Grand, but they were in the basement in the cellar, and there's a conference room that they use down there, and that's where the boarded up tunnels were that they used to use to go across the street. For the gentlemen to go across the street underneath to come up into the brothels on the other side of the
Guys,
street.
come on. Come on, guys.
So that's in this building. They kind of use it as a conference room. And one of the things that Marie teaches us is if you smell something, find it. So, because, is it something going on? Is there mold in the location? Is there a air freshener? Is there whatever? And obviously with this, you could tell that it smelled bad. And so the investigators were actually on their hands and knees and smelling the carpet and smelling around underneath the doors. So what would that look like, having two adult women on their hands and knees, smelling the carpet, smelling the floors? And we got the little girl saying, "That's silly." So,
yeah.
And she's there. She's still there. And this clip is my favorite clip of all time. And it's actually from 2005, when one of the first times that they were in the location.
Awesome.
She still participates all the time in our investigations. She's
your little buddy.
She is. It's fun.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I've got a little buddy here at this house too, and so I know where you're coming from on that. And the reason I was asking if there was a male team member that was in there or in the next room is because towards the end of the clip there's a male voice that I heard.
Very possibly in that same area. The father hung himself in that same room or right near there, and then a waiter was also killed in the basement right beside it, or the laundry room right beside it. So very possibly there was something else there. But no male investigators, that I know of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's that's what I heard. And coming through on the broadcast, who knows? But yeah, I just heard kind of a male voice in there, and boy, real happy times in that basement.
Yeah, it was.
Jeez.
I don't remember the whole story, so I don't want to quote it, but I know that the little girl died of like mumps or measles or something like that, of the time period type disease. Yeah. And I believe something happened to the wife, and there was a lot of stress going on with the hotel. Things were starting to go under, and so then he committed suicide.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean she's got a sweet little voice there. It really stands out. That's cool. Yeah. That's awesome. So we'll do this last clip here from the Platypus Pub.
Yep.
Yeah, tell us where is that kind of in your guys' area, or where's that at?
It was in Bend, Oregon, but it no longer exists. It's now, they tore the building down. It's now a Starbucks.
You mean it's a ghost?
Yeah.
The business is a ghost.
Yeah.
It was a really cool location. It was a brewery. It's been a church, a couple other things. But they sold the property to Starbucks, and now you can get coffee there, but the building's not there anymore. But maybe the ghosts are. I don't know.
Yeah. Have you? Have you ever heard of any other activity being reported at that Starbucks?
It's not open yet.
It's brand new. They just built it.
Yeah.
You guys should just go there and get coffee and like set out some audio recorders. Be like, don't mind us.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool location.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead. Let's hear clip number 3, please.
I drive very, very slow until somebody passes me, and then I follow them. I think this squirrel's the biggest thing I've hit, so I've hit some squirrels. I still
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
No.
It sounded like a woman's voice.
I drive very, very slow until somebody passes me, and then I follow them. I think this squirrel's the biggest thing I've hit, so I've hit some squirrels. I still
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Okay, so at the beginning you hear John, he worked at the bar, he was talking about whatever, and then one of the claims there is that there's a woman that's in the ladies' room and she's not very friendly. But we're all it was towards the end of the investigation, we're just about to wrap it up, we were just talking and we're all standing in the bar area. We heard a voice coming from the ladies' room, and fortunately we caught it on audio. So it's kind of a laugh, kind of a voice, not really sure what it's saying, or maybe it's a laugh or whatever, but it was, we went in there and checked it. There was nobody else in the building. So
and it sounds like somebody heard it too.
Yeah, we all heard it. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like a woo or something.
Yeah, we're all kind of like, what was that? But that's one of the claims of the place, that they would hear that a lot during closing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we went in and looked around. We couldn't find a logical explanation for it. So
you went through your protocols. Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's pretty loud too.
Yeah.
Pretty clear in there. And those kind of pieces of audio, just why are they doing that sort of thing? I've got one from this house where me and a teammate are just kind of talking. I don't know, we're talking about the Pope or something. I can't remember what we were talking about, but there's this ooh woo woo in the background, and we're like, we didn't hear it when that one happened. That was an EVP. But it's like, have they forgotten how to speak, or is that all they could get through from the other side, or are they just like starting a party and woo? It's hard to say, right? So did you guys get any other kind of activity during that investigation?
There was a lot of shadows, that kind of stuff. But as far as I remember, I think that's the only piece of audio that we got. I could be wrong on that.
It's a good one.
It's been a while, so I can't really. But it's on our website if you want to go. People want to check it out. We got a list of our investigations and some of our evidence on the website.
That's bigriverparanormal.com. So if you want to go check out some of the investigations they've done and some of the evidence that's been collected. I was on there, and I know, Jason, you mentioned the site's under construction, so it may act funny, but it did not for me. Everything worked great. So whoever's doing that, good job. So definitely go to bigriverparanormal.com. So, I mean, those sound like fun investigations. What's been, thanks for putting that up on the screen there if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. If anybody wants to comment on the team and their approach, I think it's really great. What's one place, and this will be for each of you, and I'm just curious, what's one place that you definitely have to investigate in your lifetime?
Go ahead.
For me, it was Waverly Hills, and I've already been able to do that in Kentucky.
Awesome.
So, but there was a lot of little things that went on, but to me, it was so peaceful. I kept telling everybody it was so hot and humid, and from us up here where it's a little more drier climate, and especially me in Eastern Oregon where we get no rain,
right,
and no humidity. It cooled down, and I was like, I could place a cot and go to sleep. It was very peaceful for me, but a lot of other, teammates and stuff got stuff going on and stuff. But for me, the locations, it's the history of the location versus is it paranormal or not.
Okay.
So that's, I really loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was going to be kind of a follow-up was, what drew you to really wanting to go to this place? So kind of the history of it and
History, yeah.
the wild history of it.
Yeah, the history there is amazing, and the owners, the wife of the owner, Tina, got to visit with her quite a bit, and her passion for that building is amazing.
Sorry, I just felt something weird on the back of my head.
Eventually, you like so much.
If it's a spider, I hope I'm getting the web. What about you, Jason? Where's one place you've got to go? And your time on this plane.
Well, I don't know that it's actually haunted. There's many movies about it. It's going to all be made up. But I think the Amityville house would be cool.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows about that place? There's so many things that contradict each other.
I mean, obviously, there's some tragic things that happen there. So, I mean.
Right. But you don't necessarily need. Sorry. I thought I heard a squeaking sound. Not like a mouse, but like a door hinge.
Oh.
I thought I heard a knock. So.
Hello? We're here in the Walker Ames house. Or I am. Okay. Yeah, you don't always need, bad stuff, that happened to haunt a place. But yeah, and what would you do when you got there? Would you just be like EVP session the whole way, or just kind of observe?
Well, first I'd want to do all the research and find out the actual, based off the movies are half of it's fabricated to make a better movie.
Right,
so I'd want to know what really was true and what was fabricated, and then just go from there and do EVP, that kind of pretty basic, simple stuff, and just kind of get a feel for the place.
I really love how you guys keep it simple.
Yeah.
And using yourself. Do you guys carry around notepads when you investigate?
My thought is always to do that, but we investigate in the dark most of the time. So it's always a good thought that you're there.
Yeah. I always try to, as long as I can, unless I'm getting stuff really fast, and then I just try and keep an audio log.
Yeah.
With my audio, but try and, if there's other investigators, be quiet so I don't, disturb anybody else. But yeah, it's if you have bad handwriting to start with.
Yeah, I mean,
it's definitely not. Yeah, you get done and you turn the lights on and you're like, well, hell, I can't read that.
You don't have any idea what you wrote.
Those won't work.
Not only do we have, recorders set around the building or our location, we always try to have one that we call our handheld, and we take it with us too. So if we're hearing something, we see something or whatever, we're documenting the time all the time. So
right.
And it makes it easier for the reviewers if they can have the timestamp frequently as well.
Exactly. So we're getting close to the end of the show here, and time's just flying by. I'm having so much fun talking to you guys. What's a piece of advice that you give to the public, like saying some of your education stuff? If because you guys are down in Oregon, so maybe any of the local listeners down there, what's the best piece of advice you can give to somebody who feels like they've got something going on in their house that they can't explain? What's kind of a good piece of advice you can give them to get them started on a way of figuring it out?
Start taking a journal of experiences.
Documentation.
Right. Okay.
Because it could be a pattern, and that would help us, make a journal. Mm-hmm. And do we see a pattern in it? Is it the same time every day? Does it happen once a month? Is it random? So that helps with whether it's, intelligent or residual hauntings, things like that.
Also, if you're going to contact a team, do a lot of research on the teams that you're contacting. Make sure they're experienced. They know what they're doing. They're not.
Check out their Facebook page, or kind of see how they are. Yeah, there's really not. Is there a Yelp section for paranormal teams?
There should be, but I mean, you don't want Yelp all because then you'll get people that are mad because you didn't,
give them what they wanted.
Yeah, they don't have a demon, so they're mad at you now.
Don't ever choose a team that's going to charge you. Everything that we do is for free, and there's no charge. And I can't prove. It's all theory based. And in homes. And so that's,
Yeah.
there's no expert, there's no college degree for this. And so, yeah, make sure that your team doesn't charge is another one. And
That's
you're not
it.
crazy.
Yeah. You're not crazy. Yes. That's one of the biggest ones I think there is because most people are scared as hell to reach out to somebody, with something going on. Great pieces of advice. It's about helping the client and stuff. So I really appreciate, I hope you guys just keep pushing that out there and that, that approach to things. I think that's awesome. What's a piece of advice you'd give to somebody who's looking to join a team? So it's not like a potential client or something, but somebody looking to join a team. Obviously you can plug yourselves, but what's a piece of advice for somebody looking to join a team and kind of learn more and start their paranormal investigation career, so to speak?
You got to figure out for that person what kind of team they want to join. Do they want to do evidence-based, psychic-based? I mean, do a lot of research on what team.
Research the team.
And then, because we have people apply for our team all the time, and I'll call them and interview them on the phone. And one of the first questions I'll ask them is what they expect of the team they in. If they're saying things like, I'm psychic and I want to work on my psychic skills, and I tell them we're not the team for them, and maybe suggest a few or whatever. But yeah, really just do a lot of research on the team and who you're trying to team up with, because you just, like anything else, even like even a dating thing, you want to do some research on people.
Right. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Tracie?
Well, and one of the requirements for TAPS is that you have a clean background. So to be a part of our team, you also have to have a clean background. So
that's important.
So if you want the honesty or whatever, you're going to look for teams that creates those types of environments for you as well. Because, I'm getting in a car with people I don't know and going, I could go across the state, so there has to be a lot of trust in who you're with as well.
Yeah, that's research the teams, and I think, Jason, you're saying, you ask them, what do they expect? And so I would say even another piece of advice would be, why do you want to be a paranormal investigator?
Yeah.
If you can answer that usually kind of gives you the direction that where if you called somebody like Jason and he says, what do you expect? Well, this is what I want to get out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Asking yourself, why in the first place am I wanting to be, researching the paranormal, investigating the paranormal? So the great stuff. So do you guys have any events coming up, any public things, or, you wait until things actually open, or are you planning anything yet?
Well, you can check our website for the public investigations for this old pen in the Geyser Grand in Idaho.
Yeah, our Portland team, we don't have any public things currently. We keep trying to work on that, trying to get a good location with good evidence, and then maintain that. And yes, we have the Walker Ames as well. That's soon. But you can go to Investigate with Us on our website, and listed in there is the Geyser Grand, the dates for the Geyser Grand and the Old Pen. And I believe there's still like 5 or so more dates for the Old Pen and like 3 or 4 dates for the Geyser for this year. So
cool. Well, as things hopefully keep going in a safe direction and people can get out and start, going to some of these events. I'm looking forward to getting my Ghost Walk tours going for October, because that's when the ghosts come out in October. So I'm looking forward to that. And for everybody listening out there too, we're going to be planning for the Port Gamble Ghost Conference, November 5th through 7th. And I'll be getting a bunch of stuff up online. It's all going to be, the Ghost Conference information is all going to be on portgamble.com this year instead of portgambleparanormal.com. So it's all going to be on portgamble.com soon. So be patient. But November 5th through 7th, we'll be doing that. And it's going to be weird to have an in-person event.
yeah,
It's just going to be weird, but looking forward to it. And you guys have been a part of the conference here, been good friends to the Ghost Conference here. And so I thank you for that. And Hope we can have you still continue on with that and be a part of the conference here. So I really appreciate your time tonight. And at least, you know, some guests are on the East Coast, and I'm like, man, it's late there.
Right.
So if you're listening right now on the East Coast, thank you. Maybe you're a night owl, but thank you. And special thanks to Jason and Tracie here from Big River Paranormal, the Oregon chapter. Check out the website, bigriverparanormal.com. And it sounds like they got some events coming up. So definitely check that out if you're looking to get out and do something fun and unique and learn something while you're having fun. Definitely check that out. Just a reminder, next week here on Let's Talk Radio, WLTK-DB, the first part of the week, there's no shows. So I will be off next week, but we'll be coming back with a vengeance. Just kidding. I'll be back on July 13th, the following Tuesday. But in the meantime, check out the station store. We've got lots of new fun stuff you can get, perfect for summer. So go order something from the station, show your love, and thanks everybody for supporting the station so far. Again, big thanks to Jason and Tracie. Really appreciate you guys coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Go Niners.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. And go Hawks. You know, I'm not going to let you have the last word on that. Come on now. That's it. We'll have a good rivalry this year. That's for sure. It's all in good fun.
All right.
But you guys take care, and I leave every show with a toast. The past is history. The future's a mystery, but today is a gift because it's the present. Don't forget to take time each day to be in the present, be in the now, hug the ones you're with, hug everyone else virtually for a while longer. And we'll see you after the 4th of July week. Happy Independence Day, everybody, on the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Orbea. Let's Talk Radio, WLTK-DB.com. Thanks.
Tell the witches cast their spell. If not, don't think you should.